Doctors and nurses of Reddit who had delivered babies to mothers who clearly cheated on their husbands. What was that like? I was assisting at a cesarean when I was a junior doctor. The woman's dark-skinned partner had been in prison 9 months or so. I took the baby immediately upon delivery and announced cheerily, "It's a boy." Her first words were, "Is it black?" Luckily the baby was a mocha color that could have gone either way, and I told her in a mildly confused manner, "It could be." Paramedic here. Our crew delivered a full birth in the back of our rig. We have 2 paramedics in the back with the PT, a driver, and him working on the laptop listening to info they are telling me to add to the report. All of a sudden, it goes kind of quiet. I hear the mother let out a very loud "Oshti." It's not white. She was very white. Few more seconds of silence, and him like, the driver alarm, beeping light on the center console sent from a button in the back, was pressed 2 times quickly, generally meaning to turn around, to get info for the report. I turn from the front passenger seat, to see a very dark skin colored baby. I'm guessing Cuban. I can't see the mother's face, but all I see is her shaking her head. She begins to worry, saying that her husband is meeting us there at the hospital. He can't see this. I just continue the report, and I'm not sure what the problem is, but I guess we'll see when we get there. Flash forward to the we stop outside the ambulance bay. I get out to open the doors, and am met by another very white heavyset guy in a uniform shirt, dress pants and glazes. Asked me if his wife was in there, and she was in labor when he was coming home. Hospital policy dictates that we can't have random people, that we can't confirm identity that close to the rig when opening doors for PT safety. Security is there quick, holds him back a bit. We open the doors, roll the PT and her newborn out. He takes one look, sees the color of the baby, jaw drop, look of despair, like a 1,000-yard stare. Even security had a look like, wow, that woman ducked up. And this guy knows it now. Wife, babe, I can explain every bit of this. I know it looks weird, but I can. We wheel her into no sign of husband. Last I knew, the husband didn't check into the hospital as a visitor. I'm assuming he went home to pack his stuff. When I was born, my mom legitimately thought I was black, since I came out mostly purple-ish. One heart problem and a few days later I was the palest baby in the world. My mom was confused, and my dad almost walked out. SMH, my wife slept with some purple dude. Paramedic here. Had a mother give birth to a healthy baby in a home. Situational awareness had not helped me yet at this point. I asked if the father was here to cut the cord. We paramedics usually shy away from this duty because it opens us up to unwanted legal ramifications should something go wrong. There was a calm in the air after I asked the question, and went on to do it myself. Come a few moments later, I was approached by another occupant of the home who informed me that this was a home for victims of a sexual assault, and that the father of the baby was indeed also the father of the mother, and was currently incarcerated due to the aforementioned situation. It was an awkward ride to the hospital after that. Consulted a couple who were expecting a baby and were confused about how she had chlamydia again. Turns out they both had chlamydia. Both got treated and continued doing their thing. She could not get her head round how she had it again, if he was the only guy she had slept with. He just looked very sheepish as I tried to subtly explain maybe he had caught it from elsewhere and pasted it on. Took a long time for the penny to drop. One of those couples where you realize the kid won't get help with their science homework from their parents. So a friend of mine, he is unfortunately dead, had cancer and he was dating a girl for about 2 years. He then discovered he had cancer and that he would live at best 1 more year. His girlfriend announced to him a week later that she was pregnant. They were both white. He kept on saying that life is a joke. He was happy because he would have a baby now, but sad because he would die in a year. Anyway, 9 months later the baby was born, and it was black. He then disappeared for weeks, and we learned that he had died a month later. Felt so ducking sorry. Had 2 women give birth a few days apart on my floor. Turns out they actually had the same baby daddy. The father of the 2 newborns got both patients pregnant around the same time. It was an interesting day for the social worker. Oh man. A friend of friend got 2 women pregnant. Several months apart. One of the women had complications during the pregnancy and the baby was born very early. On the exact same day the other woman also went into labor. Father has 2 babies. Same date of birth. Different mothers. The women knew about one another. One ended up being insane and unfit and bolted. So the other woman is raising both kids. In high school my gym teacher was married to the biology teacher, who was also really good friends with my math teacher. Always saw them chatting and walking together. Well, the BO teacher got pregnant, and when she brought the baby in there was an unignorable resemblance to the math teacher. Her husband ended up driving to the nearest hospital and shooting himself dead in the parking lot. Was a big scandal at our relatively small private school. One of a few actually. I know a guy who is fully white. His parents are both white and his younger sister is black. I always assumed she was adopted, and one day, when I mentioned it, he looked at me weirdly and was like, no dude, that's my full blood sister. Obviously I didn't believe it, and apparently neither did his dad at the birth. But they got the paternity test, and she was his daughter. Likelihood is they've got some black ancestors far enough back to be forgotten about. I also know a dude who has a white Scottish mum and a black Jamaican dad. Dude came out pale white with a ginger afro. Genetics were not on his side when you give birth to Napoleon Dynamite. Kind of unrelated, but this lady at my church is a white female married to a white male. They have one younger kid who is the spitting image of his dad and obviously white. Then, they have an older kid that is quite visibly mixed. The kid has dark brown skin and curly African American hair and nonetheless looks nothing like the dad. So this lady claims that when she gave birth the hospital gave her baby a shot that turned him black. Therefore, we refer to this kid as Black Shot. Feel bad for the kid, but he truly believes the story and is in like 7th grade. A new one for the anti-vaxxers to get behind. Anesthesiologist here. C-sections are typically done under spinal anesthesia, and we're the ones at the head of the table keeping the mother calm and talking her through the procedure while the surgeons operate. I've seen it more than once, but I remember one in particular when the parents were both very Caucasian and the baby was very much not. The actual father obviously had to be very dark-skinned. At delivery, when the not father saw the baby, he just looked down at his wife, who was starting to cry, and calmly said, "You ducking whore," and walked out. She started screaming for him to come back, but there wasn't much she could do since she was, still being operated on. She lost it to the point I eventually had to sedate her just a bit because she was in danger of injuring herself. As far as I know, her husband never came back to the hospital. I don't know what happened after that. Baby was white on the ultrasound, so she thought she was in the clear. I laughed. Then realized this has probably happened. A friend of mine tells the story of his aunt giving birth in the 1970s or 80s to a baby that at first glance appeared to be of Asian descent. Aunt and her husband are both Caucasian Midwesterners from long lines of the same sort. Going back to Germany, there was evidently a shock moment, and then the aunt's father, my friend's grandfather, quipped, "Well, they say 1 in 7 babies is born Chinese," and everyone laughed. The tension broke. Long enough for the doctor, also a white Midwesterner of German stock, said that likely the kid's color is just off due to the events of the birth. That baby is now a man in his 30s or 40s, and looks like your typical Midwesterner. He just had some tinge to his skin for a few hours following the birth, plus some dark hair at birth that has since lightened up. My so and I just had our first in January. He has brown hair and I'm blonde. When she arrived, the nurse exclaimed, "Wow, look at that red hair." We know it's a recessive gene, but it wasn't the very first thing we expected to hear. We looked at each other for a moment and I said, in my droogaged and exhausted post-labor stupor, "I swear she's yours." Apostrophe. Little different twist. I'm Ukrainian. My great-grandfather was Crimean Tatar, who are mixed Turkic and Mongolian. My wife is Ukrainian and Italian. My first boy was blonde. My second was dark-haired, dark-skinned, and has the classic almond-shaped Asiatic eyes. Mongolian spot. Despite the fact that we know my family history, We ordered a test to make sure there was no separation at birth stuff. C-section. Yep. That's our boy. You would never know looking at us that that boy is genetically related to us. And we love him to pieces. Edit. Autocorrect. Like this video and this good boy will be your mailman forever. We are Redditation. And we redditate every day. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. Until then, check another video. Or don't. Either way, have a wonderful day you magnificent people.